Today, miss me with that. I'm missing on this idea of political battles. And earlier, I was joking about it. I was like, oh, battles, battles, battles. But genuinely, we are often bombarded with headlines of politician A versus politician B, party A versus party B, coalition A versus coalition B. And we get wrapped up in it. We eat it up, we get lost in it, we go and back our candidate of choice or our politician of choice, and we get distracted from real issues. So my miss me with that today is on political battles. Now, another day, another political battle, or rather a faux battle. Yesterday, it was Speaker Moses Wetangula versus former DP Rigathi Gachagua, with the Speaker calling out Gachagua for besmirching Kenya's reputation abroad. And we'll take a look at and listen into that. Last week, it was President Ruto versus members of the National Assembly and the Senate, with the president alleging deeply entrenched corruption in Parliament and promising arrests. The week before that, I honestly cannot remember because the script changes every week, but the actors remain the same. But throughout Kenya's history, there have been a few of these legendary battles. Let me start with season 1 of Raila Odinga versus the government of the day, Mwai Kibaki's government, leading to Nusu Mkate. There's so many names, I won't go into it. Season 2 still features Raila Odinga versus Uhuru Kenyatta's government, leading to the handshake and the BBI. Season 3, Raila Odinga versus William Ruto and the government of the day, leading to the broad-based government, whichever way you want to refer to it. But if we're being honest, Raila Odinga did not invent handshakes. They go quite a bit back. At independence, KANU was pushing for a centralized state, while KADU was pushing for a Majimbo system. KADU was dissolved, and its leaders joined KANU after assurances and appointments. Does that sound familiar at all? Okay. In 1997, political parties threatened to boycott the upcoming elections if there were no electoral reforms. Protests began, and the Inter-Parties Parliamentary Group, that's IPPG, was formed. Some electoral reforms did happen, they were passed, including opposition representation at the Electoral Commission of Kenya, the ECK. And credit where it's due, a few media reforms also happened, but President Moi stayed in power until 2002. Need I go on? Kenya's history is riddled with 4 political battles between the elite of the day. I call them 4 battles because in reality, usually in a battle, there's one winner and one loser. Not 2 winners and a nation of losers. Ama, kama vile wahanga wanapenda kusema, fahali wawili wakipigana, nyasi ndio huumia. These fake battles lead to deals, and they almost always come at the expense of institutional strength and reforms. Perhaps a Majimbo system at independence would have spared us from the extreme regional inequality that county governments now have to fix. Perhaps a strong opposition under Raila Odinga would have kept the governments of the day in check and accountable and bolstered public confidence in him as a leader. But that's not the purpose of these dramatic, loud, public battles. It's a dance as old as time. One party is aggrieved and so is the other. Words are traded, rallies are mobilized, cash is distributed, and the citizenry buys into it, getting charged, getting emotional, risking life and limb, taking time off to support their kingpin. But behind closed doors, the political class, they share meals, they share laughs, they share drinks, they marry into each other's families, and they strike deals that benefit only them. It's also good to point out that this charade only further serves to erode public trust in institutions and individuals. So, when we have an honest politician who is actually fighting for public good, they are dismissed as being part of the ridiculous dance on vulnerabilities and graves. The system, as they are entrenching it, is shutting out good people and suffocating integrity. So, political battles, miss me with that.
Mariam said next. Let's step on them. Where are they? Are they there?
Kanyanga.
Step on the next.
Anapumua. Anapumua. Kanyanga.
A lot of fire on them. Wow.
Lord.
Even the way you broke it down in seasons, because we've been here before. We're here all the time.
Yes.
So why do we get okay?
So I had 1,000 examples.
1,000 examples.
It was just it's
We have time. Don't worry.
No, we have enough. Why do you think
as we continue, you'll bring out the
why do you think we keep getting sucked in? I know she's talked to some of it. I'm not sure though. What is the why?
I will bring in King Kaka.
Okay. Oh my God.
Wajinga sisi.
Wajinga sisi.
Sembo.
We are the problem.
Sembo.
Okay.
Sembo.
We play into the theatrics and
Yes.
politics, and then we praise and then we forget. So then they're able to take advantage of that, of shifting goalposts and focus. I know it's changing. I think that's why there is this miss me with that. Because I do think now people are starting to say, over and above unemployment and SHA not working as it should be, I don't need the theatrics.
Right.
And then you people can figure it out. I don't know how, but to Mariam's point, you see each other, you have your coffees and your dinners. I think maybe the pushback is we recognize the theatrics, they're beginning to weigh on us. I think that's the juncture we're at. And I think that's why it's important that this conversation is had, because we'll see it again. And I was frustrated with what started as the innuendo when the president said, 10 million shillings to pass a bill, 150 million shillings. If those accusations have any ground, then bring the evidence. But when you throw it out as innuendo, then it was followed by all, the members of parliament grappling with one another, with themselves, asking the House Speaker, you need to bring him in front of us so that he can now give us the names. And then now you have Moses Wetangula kind of stuck in the middle a little bit, because if I put myself in his position, if he does, by his powers, is able to bring the president in front of parliament, what does that mean to that alliance or that proximity to power?
Right.
And then if not, what does it mean for the MPs being forever on his case?
Right.
All that said though, because you see where the conversation has gone, we've moved away from issues.
We have.
That's what happens.
We
go into the theater and the theater and the theater.
Yes.
And instead of it, it's like, wait, actually, if we're serious about fighting graft, then let that 150 million shilling case be brought to light, investigated. Let those who've committed the offense be held to account. Bribes to pass bills, let's interrogate that. Let's come up with fact-checking. They can also come up with their own checks. I truly believe internally you can come up with your own checks. Let's make sure the EACC is working. I think if anything, that's the only thing that the theater should do, is remind us that we need systems to work.
Boom. 100%.
King Kaka, 2020. It's a prayer.
Okay.
He says, Dear Lord, today I come before you for two things. Grateful for keeping me alive, even though you know my day. Na kutupea wa Kenya, amnesia, asante. Sisi ni vipofu na viziwi na tunajua translator wetu alisha dedi. 2022 already si mnajua nani ni prezi. Si mnajua nyinyi voters ndio washenzi. Kwani hamjui mdomo yangu ilibatizwa na wakongwe. So unashangaa mbona akili zenu time ya kura zinajaa shonde. He basically brings
What's that line for 2022? Sorry,
si mnajua nani prezi.
Mnajua nani prezi?
Okay.
Na hiyo wiki ndio nitajua jirani yangu mjaka kama kumbo wa msapere hata salamu hawatapata. Piga tu kura na utalala bila kula, a night of tears. Nani sikiza na macho na ona na your ears. Swali. He basically just sums up what you're saying. Because this is, we elect people and we are playing into their game. We're playing into a game. You graduate into that level of politics and you want to grow in your career as a politician. There's somewhere you want to get. You want to get into this cabal. That cabal that calls the shots.
Right.
When you get admitted into that cabal that calls the shots, first of all, you are, of course, initiated into how to call the shots. By first of all, being a parrot for the callers of the shots.
Yes,
and we see them, the parrots, in our politics. They're all,
the sky is green, the sky is green.
The sky is green.
The sky is green.
Amplify. Yes. After the parrots.
And then now you get constantly just being fed with rewards. Bigger morsels and bigger morsels until the point when the big boss decides to take a back seat and makes you occupy the seat that he was occupying, or builds for you another seat because he's moving with his seat, right? And we continuously just looking at that and celebrating, because you know Mariam amewaka vizuri, amefanya vizuri sana na Janet. Hasa Janet amempromote. Unajua Janet ndio mtu wetu. So if Mariam is well aligned to Janet, then Mariam is rising. And we're celebrating Mariam rising. And then she gets there and we're like, yes, our Mariam has now become our Janet. Wajinga ni sisi. Because as Mariam is now battling, because you see Janet is in competition with Eric. Right? And Eric has his own Clemo that he's also. So Eric will set off Clemo to go and battle with Mariam. On our behalf. Right? So as they're fighting, the people will go, lakini hapo hivyo Clemo atakuwa anasema kitu, lakini Mariam akona point. Lakini hapana, Mariam ana point. Then Jano comes and says, Mariam ana point. Hey! Mariam ana point.
That's it.
Mariam, her person does not have a point. For just that one moment. Then we come and shake hands and all. And that's how we play this game. Not tunabebwa tuka mafala.
Continuously. It's so deep. That's why I started threading just basically after independence. Kanu and Kadu, very different systems of governance that they wanted. I'm trying to think through a Kenya where, as opposed to one party dissolving into the other, which is in exchange for basically for positions and appointments and the usual deal making that we know of. If they had decided not to dissolve and to continue to push, because their whole idea was Majimbo system, to make sure that we devolve, the word wasn't devolve then, but basically that development goes to the very last mile. That was their idea. If they had not gotten dissolved and then sucked into a centralized system of governance, imagine how far we could be had they continued pushing for, again, not even if not in the name Majimbo, but basically for service devolution. We would not be dealing with these things of why are the northern frontier, like, you know, counties so badly off, and this and that, and then Nairobi and Kiambu and where I don't think we'd be dealing with these problems. So we've been set up from the get-go that the people make due, they make deals. You get your appointment, you get your letter, you get your position, you get your big guzzler and whatever, and the people are just okay. You figure it out on your own.
I know we're going to run some bites soon, but I try to think about, I know this is very wishful thinking. I don't know if it's thinking along the wrong lines. That was very hard for me to say. Along the wrong lines. It comes down to dynamics and resourcing. Sometimes I need to look at it that linear, because yes, we are the majority as the people of Kenya, but we don't have the majority of the wealth and resources, which I know sounds like I'm stating the obvious. I'm just saying it may not be as simple. It's a mammoth that you're going up against, the mammoth of what Eric has described, just how they've been able, and by they, of course, I'm talking about the leadership, parliamentarians, how they've been able to create and build and mobilize, and especially make sure that the resources are held in a certain way. I don't know what the fix is, because I've been very tempted to come up with a fix for this one, other than the fact that we really need to think differently. I guess we are. 2027 will fully show us.
It will.
But beyond that, it's about strategically mobilizing and resourcing. And I don't know that we talk about that enough. We've heard people come here and talk about it. We've heard even those who were in the Nyayo chambers talk about it, right? I don't know why we don't shikanisha those two. And it's unfair if I'm saying that and people are saying, no, Janet, we've been saying it.
No.
Are we amplifying it as priority? I don't know that we are. Cyprian Nyamwamu talked about this tripartite group of people. You know, if it's faith, if it's legal, if it's civil society. I don't know why we're not thinking through practically and realistically amplifying these sets of people to counter the noise of the bullies. I'm very sorry if your MP is not a bully to you. But you know what I mean. I think the noise, the organization, the resourcing, if we're not being intentionally strategic about that, we will forever be wajinga sisi. Because otherwise it's about saying, we voted them in, sawa, we did that. How do we make them work? How do we make sure they work for us? It's about ensuring that we are being strategic about holding them to account. But I think that's the minority and not the majority. Am I making sense, you guys?
No, you are.
Yeah.
100%. I'm thinking...
Yeah.
He's right about the tripartite. But to Eric's point, kama sisi ndio wajinga, at what point do we sharpen up?
Mjinga kirevuka.
Yeah. At what point do we just stop? Like, okay, cool, you guys are beefing. That has nothing to do with me. There's no block for you to bring to the table to negotiate with. I'm not part of anybody's block. I agree with Eric's politics today. Fantastic, I'm behind him. If he changes, then and Jano makes sense to me, I'm behind her. So that we're not their bargaining tool when they come to this table, and we're not also being distracted by their news, such that, yeah, we see them and we're like, what? Amesema amefanya nini? No, my person. There's no, that's not your person. The quicker we just make peace with that, the more we can move on. I'm thinking through, I want to see where you guys were at mentally when some of these deals were happening. Like, not even the deals, let's start with the beef. Let's start recently. President William Ruto versus Parliament, yes, the Senate and the members of the National Assembly. Let's just have a listen in to what he said and maybe even some of their reactions.
There is something going on in our legislature that we must call out. There is money being demanded from the executive, from governors, from ministers, from people in the executive, especially those who go for accountability before our houses of parliament. Mr. Speaker, it cannot continue to be business as usual. Somebody who has stolen public funds and then goes to court and gets something called anticipatory bail makes it impossible for such a person to be arrested and prosecuted endlessly. How does that support the fight against corruption? I have made it absolutely clear to the chair of the Anti-Corruption Commission, to the CEO of the Anti-Corruption Commission, that there will be no sacred cows and there will be no telephone call from anywhere below or above to stop anybody from being prosecuted for matters corruption.
Everyone should carry out their functions. This president gave us a finance bill. That was very unpopular. We passed it for him. This president gave us a housing levy. Very unpopular. We passed it for him. This president has asked us to pass SHA. We sat here until 10 p.m. Passed it for him. What have we done for him? What has this parliament not done for president that he now has to come and bastardize us? What? Let him do his job. And why he's also involved in corruption, we'll follow him. You can't come and name everyone else be corrupt as if yourself you're very clean. It doesn't work like that.
Do you hear how the conversations have centered, who they have centered?
One person.
It's the president speaking to the members of Senate and the members of the National Assembly. And then this is the MP for Ugenya, David Ochieng, saying, what haven't we done for the president? You asked us to pass SHA, we were here until 10 p.m. You asked us to do this, we've done it. Where are the people in those conversations? Yeah. Where are you hearing Wanjiko? Where are you hearing Wananchi? Absolutely nowhere. We're doing this for each other. And it's to Eric's point as well, the issue might not be that money is changing hands. It's maybe that imekuwa ni nyingi sana sasa.
Mmekuja sana.
Mmekuja sana. Honestly.
That's shocking. To hear it played back,
yeah,
it's shocking. Yeah, and yeah, it's the worry around the empty accusations, breeding cynicism. Just the way this whole thing has played out, and I know Eric will let us know in just a bit who will hear from. But yeah, just the way it's descended into something. Let's continue. Let's listen in and then come back and unpack how it started, how it's going.
So the leadership.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, there is the titular leadership of Parliament. The Speaker is a titular head of Parliament, but the political heads of Parliament are the leaders of majority and minority.
Yeah.
So let's hear them. The leader of majority in the National Assembly, Kimani Ichung'wah, minority, Junet Mohammed, and then the titular head, the Speaker, Mr. Moses Wetangula.
My suggestion, Mr. Speaker, authorize the Powers and Privileges Committee to summon the President, or if not the President, then the head of public service.
As the minority leader, Mr. Speaker, we will defend Parliament to death. We will defend Parliament to the last breath, Mr. Speaker.
It is not fair to condemn the House in its entirety, Honorable Speaker. We have young members like Honorable Njeri, Honorable Joseph, who just joined this House the other day, Honorable Speaker. We have older members like the Honorable Kenyan, the father of the House, who has been here for a long time, and yourself, Honorable Speaker. When this House is condemned, you are condemned.
I have given you an opportunity this afternoon. Waswahili wanasema muwe mkala, lakini haki yake mpe. And by giving you haki yenu, you have exercised your right of reply in the matter. So I want to encourage us that let's now lower the anger, be the leaders that we are, and transact the business of the House in the manner we always do.
Do we fall into their trap even when we amplify and keep playing?
Yes. I was about to.
We also like to check ourselves.
Should we just now pinch ourselves and say,
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
We do amplify
Right?
over and over again.
Because
I was about to say media is the next one.
it becomes just their thing, and then they know we give you very beautiful sound bites. In fact, they're looking whether the camera is on them, and then they start, summon the president. If not the president, then the head of public service, and he's checking whether the camera is on him.
Yeah.
You know?
But you're
This
like
one
to
is gonna be a
correct them
good
on
bite.
green.
You know this Mchazwatown too well.
But it's
Observer.
the truth.
It's true though.
And I think from that point, how do we check ourselves? Because as I'm saying, miss me with that, I'm also platforming. And
There's two things though. There's one, there's the debate whether this is, when the media highlights this, are we platforming or are we exposing?
okay.
Because there, you could look at it on the other side, and it's because of that exposure of what they're saying and how they're responding and how they're reacting, frothing at the mouth, that we can actually have this conversation where you can now say, miss me with that. We can actually read through you guys.
That's
that
true.
you can stand up and say, we passed these bills for the president. And not that we passed these bills because we were sent here by the people. I was sent here by the people of Uganda. And I passed the bill representing the people of Uganda and thinking this is the best for the people of Kenya as a whole. I passed them for him.
Right. I think, and you taught me this, and very early on, Jan, when we were having these conversations around fixing the nation, the difference between platforming and exposing and accountability, right? And it's that. So if it's just like, okay, today, President William Ruto said this and that, okay, fantastic. That's platforming, because you've not given any context, you've not interrogated, you've not asked questions, you've not held accountable, you've not said why aren't arrests happening, right? So that becomes then the difference between platforming and exposing and holding people accountable. These things that they do say will be in the public domain.
Right.
It's how are they there? Are they existing out there without context, without background, without being checked, without being questioned? I think that would be problematic. But also, Eric, sometimes there's genuinely things that are just sound bites, you know, and then that becomes, do they make news at the expense of things that are more important?
Oftentimes, yes. Because they either provide comic relief or they just provide another conversation. But I do think oftentimes it's at the expense of issues. We do need to find that sweet spot, which I think we're finding. Like I said, if I observe the last year, even now when you see, let's say, for example, just the front page of the Daily Nation, it'll be, you know, something that's been said, a quote, a soundbite, but then substantiated with facts and data, either countering or supporting. I think that should be the mainstay. I don't know that it was always often that way. Sometimes it's just histrionics and theater. And then it's distraction over reform.
Yeah.
For me, that always remains the biggest problem. And I do think what happened as well was distraction. How do you just drop those bombshells? 10 million, 150 million, sayonara, I'm out.
Yeah.
Then you leave people scrambling with each other. True. When was the last time we heard issue-based debates in Parliament?
Now,
You're like, speaking of.
speaking of that thing, I said in the Miss Me With That, all these deals come at the cost of actual institutional reform. Regardless of all the things that have been in NADCO reports, BBI, in the, you could go on and on and on. They do come at the expense of institutional reform and get actually doing things and changing things. And I think that is one of the biggest disservices. I'm trying to think through, and I gave the example of Majimbo, but that was not reform. It was basically we're forming a nation. That was the 1960s, right? But again, it's where did we begin? Our foundation was already shaky. Then you're coming back to now things that ideally should be institutionalized, but once the elites have shaken hands and they've, wamesema tuko pamoja, all that gets forgotten. Case in point, all the items from BBI made it to NADCO. Almost all of them. Now we're at NADCO, we're still not
And we have a committee that's been formed to implement the 10-point agenda. We'll come back to this. I'm just going to sample some feedback because there's quite a bit coming in. Paul Maina, aka Staki Mapepe, kudos Mariam, that was deep. Bravo. Sekina R. Latif, good morning fixers. Msisahau Eric Wainaina song nchi ya kitu kidogo na watu wadogo. She goes on to also say Sauti Souls tujiangalie beyond wajinga nyinyi. Paul Maina also goes on to say hii tabia ya kupigia viongozi makofi wakipumua even without any point ni ufala. It's true though.
No, I promise you guys.
Wait, let me read through. Let me read through. Jeremy Mutuma says, I like today's Miss Me With That. Indeed, politicians are fighting and scrambling for ordinary Kenyans instead of fighting on our behalf. Or they're fighting and scrambling, not for ordinary Kenyans. Charles Ndungo says, I hope and pray today's Miss Me With That gets to many Kenyans. The message is clear. We are the citizens and we are the problem. We should demand service, not rhetoric. Ayendele could dance. And then it's everybody.
I kid you not. There was a forum the president was at, and he took a sip of water.
And people clapped. I can believe that. I can believe that.
Yeah.
So it's an unlearning that we need
speech.
It's it's an unlearning. It's an unlearning, and I think
are we ready to unlearn?
It took 24 years to have to edit yourself to fit. Say the name. Make sure you know where they are. Clap and smile when 24 years is a long time to then unlearn. And I think
many of the people who are alive in this country today, Jano, didn't go through those 24 years.
That's true.
Can you imagine
That's
that?
True.
They actually did not go through the 24 years.
They were born post 2002.
Yes.
It's hero worship.
So we are there. We are the ones who have taught them this, and they're learning this, but they need to unlearn it. And I'm just thinking through. If you look at those musicians who have just come out and sang, Eric Wainaina, Sauti Sol, Juliani, King. There are many. There are many. There are those songs that just come out where you can just see this guy was going through something and decided, you know what, I'm going to inject and poke. It's a build-up of those songs and poetry and spoken word and actions and all that all came together last year. And we saw what was happening last year. Since then, the momentum seems to be now going back into, okay.
Cocoons.
Yes, it's
that
status quo ante.
This is our biggest issue. I keep talking about sustaining momentum. It has to be taught almost like a course in class. Sustaining momentum is not just about injecting consistently. It's about strategically, intentionally, and consistently seeing it through to the other side of Kenya. And it's not going to happen with moments of anticipation and vigor and then retreating. And I think we have to learn those tools. And everybody has their role. He's just spoken to the musicians. There's the advocates, there's the media, there's other people, everybody else, musician, business person, but sustaining momentum, it's not a joke and it's not something to be taken lightly.
100%.
And I'm telling you, we'll keep going in and out of our cocoons.
What's sad is when Cyprian comes here, or Wafula Buke, or Gitobu, and they give that lesson on how to sustain momentum and how to build systems and move beyond, you know, these, what unasema msitufunze kazi. They say we're leaderless. So at some point, we have to introspect and learn. Otherwise, we'll find ourselves right back where we started.
Listening to the theater of why Mariam did miss me with that. Before we come back and wind up, coping with rejection, breakups, and emotional pain will be next on Your World. Mwikali and Winnie Lubembe, Mwikali Mary will be speaking to a few coaches, relationship coach, and a few other people to talk about coping with rejection, breakups, and emotional pain. I think that will be an important conversation. We'll also have Vibe Shift with Claudia Naisabo and Brian Aseli happening on Nation FM from 10 a.m. But yes, so now what
as
happens?
we leave,
Yes,
so now.
as we leave.
So now.
I
I think we are one half of the problem. We need to accept that. Let's be honest with ourselves and not get caught in their narratives, right? Let no politician be able to use you as their block, as their bargaining chip. Let no one go to the table with you as their bargaining chip and saying that my people, who is their people? The people they represent, 100%, they should represent, but not the other way around. Not that you are the one that they use, it's the other way around. So the more we are honest with ourselves and intentional with not listening to the political battles and of course getting lost in all that noise, then we'll be having a bit more clarity as to the things that happen, the ongoings, and how to keep it kosher, how to keep it straightforward. And of course, we'll be able to hold them more accountable.
That's a brilliant way to sum it up. I know I'll just throw it to Latif in just a moment to walk us through what we'll be seeing on our screens. Well said, Mariam, which is tujiangalie. I'll end this with what Prime Pishori is saying on YouTube. A question which I usually like asking people, saying this politician, that politician, is inakuhusu aje hiyo story?
Inakuhusu aje, by the way?
Prime Pishori.
That's
Thank
none of
you.
your business.
So that then you find a way to make it. If it's just a story and a soundbite, leave it. If it's an issue, lean into the issue based of it. Take out the theatrics.
You know, I'm very poor at negotiation, but bargaining. Horrible. Horrible. But I keep listening to the people who are good at it. And what they do is they go to that negotiation table with leverage. You will look for leverage before you get to the table. So you go with your agenda before you go to the table, right? It's the same thing I'd like to say to us as Kenyans. When we are engaging with politics, we should go with our agenda and our leverage to the table. So when the politician is coming, we're basically just saying, this is what I want.
It's good.
Okay, because I've got the power, I'm going to squeeze as much of this into you as possible, rather than you coming with your things and giving it to me. So how do we negotiate? How do we engage with politicians? It should be from that point where we know, as you're coming to me, I already know my needs. And I'll listen to you, whether any of the needs that you purport to know to be my needs actually are my needs. And if it's only 2 out of 10, talk up.
And we'll see Eric on Last Word tonight at 9:30 for more on that.
Yes.
Corruption is the hot button today.
Tonight, that's the hot button. Shortly, we'll be crossing over to State House, where His Highness the Aga Khan landed in Nairobi yesterday for a 3-day state visit. His Highness Prince Rahim Aga Khan V, who arrived yesterday, is due to meet with President William Ruto today. Of course, he's going to be conferred with the highest civilian honor in the country, that is CGH, the Order of the Chief of the Order of the Golden Heart. And they'll have conversations, and then as he gets onto other activities of the day. So that will be coming, and once they speak, they come out to address the nation. NTV will obviously be crossing over there for that.
All right. We're leaving you now in the capable hands of course, Mary Mwikali and Winnie Lubembe, coping with rejection, breakups, and emotional pain. They have a few guests ranging from marriage counselors, relationship coaches, self-mastery coaches. a self-mastery coach. That one I'll have to watch and listen in, because I don't know what a self-mastery coach is. But Mwikali and Winnie will tell us in just a minute. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your morning with us. We really do appreciate it. It's been an amazing 4 hours. Hashtag is Fixing the Nation NTV. The conversation continues online. Tupatane hapa kesho 6 to 10 a.m. Wednesday. We'll be ready. Are you?